This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
It's been too long since I've been gone, but I'm here now. Good evening, boys, or good morning, or whatever time it is you're listening to. The words and the voice of Brother Ron, R2C2H2, the artivist. It's good to be among you all, scholars and laymen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to another wonderful edutainment, infotainment edition of The Artivist Thinks. Thought Provocateur, number one. That's me, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, the artivist. Just want to chime in. It's a lot on my mind right now. I know everybody's going through something. Sometimes you got to practice an attitude of gratitude, you know. I'm on my grind, and I know it's been a while since I spoke, but I'm like, you know, when I have something to say, I'm going to say it. You know, it's been a lot on my mind, and I just want to give some commentary. My thing is this, is like, man, it's kind of be motivated some days. I'll be honest with you. Got a lot going on. Personally, trying to still be consistent as a public servant, but nobody knows but nobody. I want to be thankful for the people who have contributed to the movement, who have sustained me, not only with your donations or donations, but also with your words of encouragement, traveling around the country. It still is an amazing experience to be recognized for doing your God work. Just be doing things, not realizing the impact you are having on people. It's truly amazing, and really is a great responsibility. You know, I've been doing a lot of reflecting this year. A lot of things been weighing on my mind, but I just want to make sure that we understand the value of who we are as not only as black people, but as human beings, as human beings, that you do have worth. Don't let nobody else define your worth. You do that for yourself. Don't let nobody else tell your story. You reclaim the narrative and tell it on your own terms. It's very important. That's why I'm doing this right now. I just want to talk about the so-called special election or selection 2018 down in Mississippi, in the old Magnolia state. You know, that special election run between Cindy Hyde-Smith. She's, I guess, the new U.S. Senate elect. She's already currently holding the seat that was vacated by Thad Cochran. She is the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate in Mississippi history. Her opponent, Mike Espy, former agriculture secretary under the Clinton administration. He was trying to become the first black U.S. senator from Mississippi since the Reconstruction era, which had Reverend Hiram Revels and Bruce Blanche, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to give honor to the ancestors, because if we don't tell their stories, the ancestors or ancestors get no glory. So I always want to offer my commentary and weigh in on this stuff as we going back and forth all this month concerning, do your vote count? Does black votes matter? Does black votes matter? And we see what happened. Like, one thing, you got to give Donald Trump his props. Y'all call him Agent Orange or 45, and, you know, people want to, you know, talk bad about the Trumpster, about Donald, and but this man can make a napkin get elected office. I mean, he is very good at getting his people elected. He is not only good at getting himself elected, but he's also good at getting his people elected. He could take a napkin and get it, you know, elected. I believe that. You contrast him with Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I really do believe if he was allowed to run for a third presidential term, he will win. Even right now, if Barack Hussein Obama was on the ballot for 2020, he could probably easily win a third term because he's, very, very popular. The voter turnout will still be huge, although, I mean, you look at his legacy as it relates to people of color and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. But he is not great at getting other people elected. He has yet to get somebody elected. Like think about, he lost his voice down in Florida trying to get Andrew Gillum to become the first black governor, and that didn't pan out. He didn't help Stacey Abrams too much either down in Georgia, and it's just very interesting because like people they hate on Trump, but Trump actually went down to Mississippi before the special election runoff on Tuesday. He went there on Monday, campaigned hard for Cindy Hyde-Smith in Biloxi on the coast of Mississippi. Then went to the heart of the Delta in Tupelo, where Elvis Presley is from. Elvis Aaron Presley is from Tupelo, Mississippi. And he campaigned for her in the Delta, where she made that comment about public hanging. And people got upset about that. Well, okay, but not too upset enough to really just go hard or go ham on the polls like they did down in old Alabama for Banjo on My Knee. When they got in Do the Dougie Jones, when the black folks came out for Do the Dougie Jones. Not just the black women. We got to stop this. Just all the black women. It was black men that came out in the 90% something percentile to support Doug Jones. And it's interesting, you look at Mississippi, she is holding the seat. She was appointed to the U.S. Senate by the governor, Phil Bryant, to fill the seat that was vacated by Thad Cochran, which is interesting about Thad Cochran. Back in people say race don't matter, but back in 2014, I believe it was 2014, when he was campaigning hard to keep his seat, he called us. I guess you say he was pandering to the black folks down in Mississippi to vote for him. Like, it's like this Janet Jackson song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" But he was saved by the black vote. Black folks came out and voted for Thad Cochran. And so now his successor is Cindy Hyde-Smith, who was appointed by Phil Bryant to his seat because of health reasons yet. So she made that, comment about the public hanging thing, and people took offense because they say that Mississippi led the nation in lynchings and hangings. Nobody hung more people than Mississippi over the last century, late 19th century, last century. So, and they're still hanging people down in Mississippi. I did a case, which is approaching, time go by so fast. I don't know, y'all, the Frederick Jermaine Carter case, where they found this brother hanging from a tree back in December of 2011 down in Greenwood, Mississippi. That's the hometown of Byron Day LeBeckwith, the cat who shot and killed Medgar Evers. They found him hanging from a tree in a white neighborhood, a predominantly white neighborhood, back in December 2011, right near the Tallahatchie River, where they found the bloated, mangled, mutilated body of Emmett Lewis Till, the face that launched the American Civil Rights Movement. So that's your Mississippi. And there was a song that A.L.L did with Goody Mob, Backyard Mississippi. Dun, 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 dun. Y'all need to check that out. Backyard Mississippi definitely is there for me because I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I know Reverend C.T. Vivian, he called Memphis the capital of the Mississippi Delta. It's a powerful financial distribution hub of the country. And I'm literally doing this, recording this podcast just some feet away from where they shot Dr. King in the face. And they, I'm basically not that far away from where they killed Dr. King. And I'm not that far away where he gave his last speech. I'm doing this podcast right now. Doing the watch hour, as y'all call it, the ancestor time. And time to reflect. And he said, well, Ron, you taking your time, you're going real slow. I'm going real slow. Because y'all not going to get all this information about to lay on you from a lot of places. I mean, I've been hearing people do their little podcasts, and I know they got, a lot of people got bigger followings than me, but numbers, it's about quality over quantity. Like I said, People, they want to say stuff. You can do your own podcast. Hell, create your own platform. But Ron, you don't let the people talk. And I said, man, I got a lot on my mind, bro. When I invite people on, I'm doing y'all a favor. You understand? This is my God work. I know some things. Everybody knows something, but do your own thing. Because a lot of people want to complain, but they're not in the arena. They're not producing nothing. They're not contributing anything to the conversation, to the culture. And I encourage people that, if you think you do it better, do it better. Do your thing, man. It's enough for everybody to do something. But, I'm just a man on a mission, man. I just and I'm doing this because I care. And I think that everybody should add to the conversation. But sometimes it's powers that be, they make it hard for a brother to get his message out. And sometimes you could be your harshest critic and your greatest doubter. And people just don't know. Nobody knows. And you don't like my song? Well, damn it, go somewhere else and compose your own song and sing some shit. But anyway, I digress. But this is very important. I know Roland Martin and other people criticize folks for not voting or being vocal about not voting. And voting was never really the main goal of the American Civil Rights Movement. It wasn't about just voting. Voting is a tool. It's about self-respect. It's about dignity. It's about freedom. It's about, protecting your human rights and protecting your right to exist. It's about liberation as well as discipline. It's about a lot of things, but voting is not the main reason. And you shouldn't make people feel bad for not voting, especially when they're not counting your vote. And now, what I love about what's happening now is that we are being forced, if you are so-called black people are being forced to grow up now, to politically mature. Stop being so emotional. Stop being so reactionary. It's time to plan. It's time to plot. It's time to strategize. We must not run candidates, but we must force candidates to respect a black agenda. It's not about cult or personality for black people. It got to be about the agenda. We got to force these politicians. It's not about color no more. I'm not going to vote or support a person because they look kind of like me or because, whatever. I'm not going to vote out of fear. I'm not going to vote out of lesser evils. I'm more interested in putting forth an agenda and holding people accountable. We must educate the folks whether we run for office. The black people must be educated. If we gonna believe in somebody and put trust and faith in anybody, we gotta educate them about why it is important to put black folks' issues as priority. Stacey Abrams, down in Georgia, she lost because she pandered to people that could not vote for her, and she worried too much about people who would never vote for her. Once again, the main reason why Stacey Abrams lost is because she was pandering to people who could not vote for her, and she was pandering to people who would never vote for her. Let that sit in. I saw that debate she did with Kemp. She said something to the effect about giving illegal immigrants the same type of educational opportunities as American citizens. Access to colleges, all types of education. But here's the thing. American citizens coming to the great state of Georgia to invest their education in terms of college and university education are taxed for doing so. They got to pay out-of-state tuition, like a lot of states do. So you telling me that people who do not have the proper citizenship status or papers should have the same benefits and breaks and access as American citizens who live in the great state of Georgia. They should have better access to educational opportunities than American citizens come from out of state to advance themselves in the great state of Georgia. See, that was a misstep. Now, I respect the sister because she's a star. She's a star. I was inspired by her fight to make sure that everybody vote counted. I respect that dogged determination, that resolve. But the thing about it is, her strategy was all wrong as it relates to engaging demographics and people to vote for her. Now, I do have a problem with Kemp being the Secretary of State while running his campaign for governor of the state. Like, he, as Secretary of State, was responsible for overseeing the voting process in Georgia. That is a problem. That's a conflict of interest. It looks bad. He could be ethical. I don't know. But it looks very bad. It's like if you are Bill Belichick, you the head coach, general manager of the New England Patriots, but also as you got those positions, you're also the NFL commissioner. That's how it looks to me when Kemp is running for office of governor, and yet he's responsible for overseeing the electoral process in the state of Georgia. State he's running. He should have stepped down. He should have resigned from that position. It just looks terrible. Terrible, like Charles Barkley would say. With that said, also, Kemp spoke to his base. He spoke to his base. He, had the shotgun and pickup truck. He's told his people that he's going to round up the illegals and send them back to Mexico or whatever, or prosecute them to the highest extent of the law. Some stuff like that, that rhetoric. He understood who his base was, who his core supporters were, and they did not let him down. Stacey Abrams neglected to have something for black folks. The same way she was catering or tried to cater to the legal immigrants, she should have had something to cater to black people. But at the same time, I cannot blame the sister for not having anything because we didn't send her anything. We did not address her. We did not tell her that, sister, you want our vote? This is what you got to do. We had no agenda for her. So it's not her fault. We got to educate these politicians. They not the leaders. See, we want people to lead us somewhere. But politicians are representatives of the will of the constituency. That's what a politician should be. They should be representative of the will of the constituency that put them in that place. They got to answer to the community, or they should be like that. They should be answering to the grassroots, and the grassroots and the community should be holding these folks accountable once they get positioning. We got to go beyond putting a person in because they black or because they woman or because they Latino or because of their white male. This got to be about policy and interest. This is not about the artificial and superficial. This should be about substance. And people try to say, well, black folks don't have no agenda. Look towards history as a guide, because to paraphrase the Mississippi author William Faulkner, the past is never past. If we don't know what a black agenda look like, we should incorporate or adapt the Black Panther Party's 10-point platform program agenda. Check out the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense 10-point platform program they did over 50 years ago, where they address the needs of the community. We need food, clothing, shelter, proper education, health care. These things are still relevant today as they were back in 1966 or 68. See, what people don't understand, black people are the original universal people. When you address black folks' needs, we are the parents of humanity, of the civilization. When you address the needs of black people, that automatically address the needs of everybody else. Even when you look at the movements, for example, the LGBTQ community, the immigrant community, women have greatly benefited from the freedom movement, organizing strategies and blueprint of the American civil rights movement, of the black power movement, of the black art movement, of the black people movement. So when black folks work together, we shift paradigms. We manifest alternate realities. So everybody has benefited from the things we helped innovate and pioneer from the 60s. Everybody, it seems, except for black people, we have been left behind because we forgot that we knew that we knew. You see, so look at Andrew Gillum, same thing. You pandering to folks who can't vote for you and to folks who will never vote for you. And the thing about Georgia is, of course, a lot of folks' votes were not counted. And she was correct. But my thing is this, she could have possibly won if she wasn't pandering to folks who could not vote for her, and that's the issue. That it turned out some folks who would have probably maybe voted for her, who were on the fence, but they quite possibly probably did cheated her out of votes. But the thing about it is, voting should not be the end game. It's just a tool in your tool belt. This should not be the end game for black people. Black people are the only group in America who are shitted on for voting or not voting enough. But yet we get the least out the process. And for any fool that will tell you that voting matters when it's not about voting, because see, the only color that matters really in politics is the color of money. The only color that really matters in politics is the color of money. Money sets policy. The why you think there's so many lobbyists on K Street in DC right now? Money sets policy. Not, how much you have suffered and how much you had to endure. Money sets policy. I really don't doubt that the Koch brothers will be standing in line for 8 hours to vote on just 3 voting machines, like so many of us do around the country. I don't think the Koch brothers really go out there and vote. I don't even think they do early voting. Because the thing about it is, they vote with their checkbooks. You pay for ads, you create these groups, what they call, y'all know them, super PACs or whatever. They find the loopholes. And they just manipulate stuff. Master manipulators. See, the people who run everything, they're not trying to vote. They don't have 8 hours to spend in line. They try to do other things with their 8 hours or 5 hours instead of standing in line with the common folk. You got a lot of white people who are just now finding out they're not white. They're not white. Because if you was white, you wouldn't be, it's like you see homeless white people. And like what Paul Mooney used to joke, and it's funny, but it's true. That's a waste of white skin. Because why are you homeless and you white? If you homeless by choice, that's a different thing. But if you're a white person in this system, you should never go hungry or homeless any night in your existence in this system. Because this system caters to you. But if we don't understand that, that's on you. It's like the system, the powers that be. Mississippi got, I guess, about 40% of the general population of Mississippi is black people, or are black folks who identify as people of color. Mississippi got more so-called black elected officials than any state in the union. But yet, you got extremes, like in America. You got extreme levels of poverty. You got concentrated areas of wealth. Because even back in slavery time, Natchez, Mississippi had more millionaires per capita than any place in America because of the slave trade. It's blood money, generational money. That's Natchez, Mississippi. Before the Civil War, had more millionaires per capita than any place in America, connected to slavery. And slavery happened. I know people want to say that, black folks, Native Americans were not Africans. Africans are the original people of the planet. Slavery happened. Slavery happened, y'all. We got to stop thinking that slavery didn't happen. Yes, black folks were here too, but that's the thing. This is even not really, I'm going to tell y'all something. That's a distraction. Let's focus on black people who are natives to this country. Where's the love for us? Where's the agenda? Like I said, people keep on talking about we need black prosecutors, black, black, black. No, we don't. We need people in office who can sympathize and empathize with our condition as black people. And black folks need to organize. We need grassroots organizing. November 10th marked the 55th anniversary of Malcolm's famous a message to the grassroots speech he did up in King Solomon Baptist Church up in Detroit, Michigan, which is a black hub, for black people and black history. Detroit's like the mecca for black people in a lot of ways, so to speak. But Memphis is the Memphis Egypt. Memphis, Tennessee is the Memphis Egypt of America in a lot of ways as well. These two the blackest cities, but Malcolm did a message to the grassroots up there that laid out how black folks should approach politics. And all you so-called Malcolmites and followers of Malcolm, the children of Malcolm, his political, philosophical children, you should have listened to this many times over, because every year I listen to that on the anniversary. And what he said back in 63 still holds true in 2018. Put aside our differences. Let's not talk about our religion. He said, join an organization that puts black folks first. Basically, what you're saying, join any organization. I don't care what religion you are, your political affiliation, whatever it is, but you should always want to join an organization and advance an organization that puts black folks' needs first. And we're lacking that right now. The Congressional Black Caucus ain't interested in addressing black folks' needs. They're more interested in throwing on annual parties and doing the biddings of their white masters. I don't know nobody in the Black Caucus is really speaking for black people. Now, you had some black folks in the past in Congress, people like the late, great Adam Clayton Powell Jr., people like the late, great Mickey Leland, that really believe in helping and serving and addressing the needs of black folks here and abroad. But we don't have that type of advocacy going on right now in Congress. Black leadership is non-existent because the black community does not really exist, because we lack to have any type of cohesion. There are not really any real black organizations. I mean, in terms of a strong national presence. Now, people talk about the Nation of Islam. They had their day. Farrakhan has had his time. He did some interesting things, but not even the nation. We don't really have a real strong black organization, a black first organization, in terms of that is very effective in getting policy passed and created and legislated on behalf of the needs and desires of black people. We're lacking that right now because our community does not exist right now. Because all politics are really local. Where are these strong black first organizations? Everybody talking about putting their needs first. I see the black woman or black women being misused, misappropriated, exploited by the powers that be. Look what's going on with the Me Too movement. The sister who actually founded it, she's disgruntled. She's talking about the brothers, and black men are some of her problems. And Sister Tamika Mallory, they're trying to, the white women, the white feminists, so-called enlightened ones, trying to get her to disassociate herself, to disown or disavow the minister, Louis Farrakhan. I'm glad the sister stand her ground as far as I know, but this is nothing new. Go back to the days of Ida B. Wells Barnett, where she got into an argument with one of her so-called mentors, Susan B. Anthony, the white feminist and suffragist, whatever, when she said that Frederick Douglass, who considered himself a feminist, should not come to a convention they were having down in Atlanta, I believe it was, because he would offend the white Southern women. And Ida B. Wells had to set her straight. And Frederick Douglass' second wife was a white woman. His first wife was a sister who gave him his children, who made sure he helped him get situated after he escaped from freedom. Escaped to freedom. So let's not forget that. But I'm saying, even when they were doing their marches in the early 20th century, the black women were put at the back of the marching line. The black women were not respected as equals of the white women. It was the Southern white women who encouraged the lynching of black men during Reconstruction. And yet, this Sidney Hyde-Smith and Mike Espy thing, think about back in 1872 when Frederick Douglass ran, as the vice president under Victoria Woodhull, a white woman who she ran for president for the Equal Rights Party back in the 1870s. I believe it was 1872. So this system drives out divide and conquer. But also with the black women, it's like what Zora Neale Hurston said back in the day. Black women are the mules of society. They work black women to death. They work black women to death against their own best self-interest. It pit the black man against the black woman and vice versa. The black family is out of whack. It's out of step now. Fannie Lou Hamer didn't know she could vote until she was in her 40s, but she knew the value and the power of the black family. She had a black man who was her husband that supported her, that stood by her side. He had her back. She had his back. She understood that the key to liberation was that all black people must be free. That wasn't about dealing with the white feminists. She knew that the white feminists were there for another agenda that did not consider black folks a part of or priority of that agenda. So what she did, she stood by black folks. This woman had no extensive education, but what she did have, she had wisdom. And she understood that we as a people, like Dr. King said in his last speech, we as a people will get to the promised land. Not by ourselves, but we got to stick with each other and get there together. So the black family is the real Trinity. It's the man, woman, and child. That is the Holy Trinity. So that's what people got to understand. That's what black people got to understand. So when you got people that call themselves black leaders that do not talk about the needs and the priority of black people, then they're not really black leaders. They're just people there. And when you don't have people or representatives with an agenda on for your needs, then they become puppets for other people. They become manipulated by other people. The goal of the community, of the beloved community, of the grassroots, is to keep our representatives honest, to hold them accountable, to hold their feet to the fire, to reward them when they do right, to admonish them or get into them when they do wrong so they correct their ways, and also to support them at all times, especially when they're getting pushback from the powers that be. It's important that the grassroots, that the organizations within the community support our representatives, because the real leadership is the community. It's like what they said Dr. King would debate with Ella Baker, who was actually one of the founders and organizers behind SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, as well as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. King's organization. They would sometimes argue about what does real leadership look like. Dr. King feel like it takes a charismatic, his thing was the charismatic one leader, cult of personality type of thing. Her thing was that a community is full of leaders. Everybody's a leader. Everybody could take an initiative to do something that contributes to the whole. It's not about one person. It's about everybody, because it takes like they said, the old African proverb that Hillary Clinton stole, it takes a village to raise a child. So with that said, it's important to look at, it's not Stacey Abrams' fault necessarily that she didn't have an agenda for black people. She had a clear picture or place for black folks, and not Andrew Gillum's fault. It's not even Mike Espy's fault. He did the best he could under the circumstances. Donald Trump said that he believed that Mike Espy did not belong in Mississippi, that he did not fit in Mississippi, but I beg to differ. Mike Espy does belong in Mississippi. His people, instead of leaving, they decided to stay in Mississippi. His ancestors created thriving businesses, a thriving community, a successful family. This is like the state that led the nation in lynchings. But yet his family decided to stay. And Mississippi has the highest, population in terms of like black people living in the state. It's 40% of Mississippi's population are black folks. But if Mississippi never had a white terrorism campaign, they had state-sponsored terrorism. This research, that was the headquarters of the White Citizens Council. That also was the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission was the government. It's a documentary that came out a couple years ago that featured my friend, sister, now ancestor, Margaret Block, called The Spies of Mississippi. You should check it out. It talks about how the state government was spying on civil rights leaders, how they was in collusion with law enforcement and other officials in the state to undermine the human and civil rights of black people in Mississippi, how to use black folks to spy on other black people. For example, my friend, sister, and ancestor, Margaret Block, her uncle, who was a prominent educator, was a spy for the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission. You understand? They were spying on people like Medgar Evers and Fannie Lou Hamer and the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. And that's another thing. The Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. A lot of people that call themselves into politics don't even understand the significance of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, where they went to Atlantic City. They wanted to be acknowledged by the Credential Committee of the Democratic Party as the legitimate representation of the state of Mississippi. This includes Fannie Lou Hamer. This included some other freedom fighters, I think. And they refused to accept the public representation. They refused to accept the butter biscuits, as we call it. People call them butter biscuits and crumbs. They refused to accept any of that crap. And they stood their ground. And you look at 50-something years later is the reason why Mississippi has more elected black officials than any state in the union, because you had that type of bold, visionary, uncompromising political grassroots leadership back in the 60s. You had Amzie Moore, I say Fannie Lou Hamer, Amzie Moore. You had Bob Moses coming through from the East Coast, from Harlem and stuff, from Harvard. You had all these people coming through. I'm not even talking about Freedom Summer, which was inspired by Dick Gregory and what he was doing in terms of giving supplies and whatnot to black folks in Greenwood who government privileges and stuff and welfare support was cut off by the Kennedy administration for trying to register to vote and to exercise their civil rights. So Freedom Summer was actually inspired by what Dick Gregory did as one person, bringing in food and aid and relief to the black people of Greenwood. So, people talking about, when you think about, Freedom Summer, you think about Swerna Cheney Goodman, the two white civil rights workers, as well as the black civil rights worker from Meridian, Mississippi, the two other guys from New York, Jewish guys from New York, who was killed. And to bring that back up, Ronald Reagan, when he accepted the nomination for the Republican Party, announced nomination acceptance at the Neshoba County Fair in Mississippi back in 1980. Now, Neshoba County, of course, is where Swerna Cheney and Goodman were killed and lynched. And his thing was state rights and state rights and state rights. So people knew that was code, like Lee Atwater would say, that you couldn't say nigger, nigger, nigger no more. But if you was like about that Southern strategy, you could use state rights, state rights, state rights as code. So that's very important to note that you could do that. Yeah, Mississippi got an interesting cast of senators throughout the years. I know y'all can, Judge Joe Brown talked about John Stennis, how they named that naval ship after him and his history. But also, you talk about Emmett Till, you think about Senator James Eastland from Mississippi. Now, Emmett Till, the brothers were brought, they had a court trial, a murder trial, about what they did to Emmett Till. Roy Bryant and his brother J.W. Malum, they were in court. And a lot of white folks, it was some white people in Mississippi that were sympathetic to what happened to Emmett Till. They had empathy for his mom, Mammy Till Bradley. It could have been possible that these guys could have faced jail time, but what happened? A lot of Mississippians took offense to so-called outside agitators. And James Eastland released some confidential files on what happened to Louis Till, Emmett's father. And the family tried for years to find out what happened to him officially, but they never could get any type of response from the government, anything to their satisfaction. But James Eastland, Senator James Eastland, who's a very powerful senator from Mississippi. He's involved in intelligence and all that stuff, community. He leaked the files to the press, and it talks about how Emmett Till father was put to death by the U.S. Army for allegedly raping and murdering European women. So they allegedly put him to death, but he probably didn't have a fair trial, so we don't know what that was all about. He might never really had a chance. So they accused him of murdering and raping women over in Europe, so they put him to death and buried him in a part of the U.S. military over there in France that, where the final resting place, the mortal remains of the people who were the undesirables of the military, of the U.S. military. People who were considered criminals and degenerates are buried there over in France. Yeah, man. So it's crazy. James Eastland, to me, people think he was a senator, a white terrorist who was a senator. People find Confederate flags and Confederate statues offensive, but what about if you got to drive down a highway that was named after a guy who was known to be a committed white supremacist, so-called white supremacist and racist, who did things to undermine the lives of black people, living and dead. So Mississippi is interesting, to say the least. Like I said, Trump, is an interesting fellow. Agent Orange, y'all call him 45. He understands his base. He refuses to belittle, to disown, disavow, whatever you call it. It's kind of like, you look at Obama, when he ran 10 years ago for the first time, he had to throw his minister under the bus. He had to throw Minister Farrakhan under the bus. They just now released a photo of Barack and Minister Farrakhan together, I think when he was a senator or running for the Senate, before he became president. They're just not releasing that because it's so sensitive. Whereas Trump, his father was a Klansman, allegedly. It was a guy arrested doing a Klan police face-off in New York and Queens back in 1927. New York Times article said that a Fred Trump from Queens was arrested, and Donald Trump is from Queens, but his daddy was a Klansman, allegedly. His grandfather was a pimp, and he's not running away from that. When the Charlottesville thing, the aftermath, and he said both sides behaved badly. And David Duke said what he said. If Trump knows who his people are, you got to respect that all. It's like, he just said whatever. Like, he's not worried about how he's represented in the media. Maybe he is worried about it, but he understands the power of reclaiming the narrative, of using, don't allow these people to use certain things against you. You own up to it, you claim it, and you throw it back in their face. And I think Trump, to his credit, he really gets it in terms of how to market, how to feed his base red meat. Like I said, Trump gets people elected. He might have, Roy Moore that backfired, whatever, but you got Sidney Hyde-Smith in, and she said that stuff about public hanging. Public hanging. You almost say that's cold, But think about also with the black leadership. Like I'm a fan of Charles Evers. It's very controversial. He is a civil rights legend, but he's very controversial. And he's a proud black Republican. And his thing is, when Trump came to Jackson, Mississippi for the opening of the Civil Rights Museum, the current mayor of Jackson, Chokwe Lumumba's son, he refused to meet with the president of the United States. For whatever reason, I know John Lewis said he was boycotting the attendance of the opening of the museum, but Charles Evers was there, almost 100 years young, in good health, still with us. This is the older brother of Medgar Evers. He was there to greet the president at the airport. Sister Marilee Evers Williams, the widow of Medgar Evers, was there to greet the president, and she don't agree with the president. She actually endorsed Mike Espy for senator. even before the runoff. I mean, that's her guy, But she met with the president because it's about respecting the office of the president. Trump came down, he paid his respects, said some pleasant things about Medgar Evers and about the Evers family. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but also people saying the governor of Mississippi, Phil Bryant, his uncle was Roy Bryant, allegedly the same Roy Bryant who helped kidnap and kill Lynch and Mattel for disrespecting allegedly his wife, which we all know is a lie now because she confessed to that in several, in a book by Tim Tyson and on her own. But I say all this to say there's a lot to go through. And the biggest point I'm trying to make is that Black people, it's time for us to get away from this voting for people because they look like us type of thing, and especially don't have our interests in heart. It's time to educate these so-called politicians about our needs and desires and wants. The same way that we push voting, we should be pushing reparations. I know people think that it's never going to happen, whatever. But this is what I want to say about Charles Evers, is that, people want to disrespect this man and not know his history because he has a unpopular point of view in the so-called Black community. But he earned the right to speak his mind. He put himself on the line. He sacrificed a lot. It's a lot of sacrifices we will never know about that he done. We know about the fact that he lost his brother at 37 years old, who was assassinated in front of his family. But I'm saying that, he has a right to his opinion, he has a right to support, but I do believe that he wants the best for Black people. And he said something to the effect, the reason why he was still supporting Cindy Hyde-Smith. I'm paraphrasing what he said, because he said that Trump can work with her. Trump couldn't work with her versus Mike Epstein. They got, philosophical, ideological differences. So, but his thing is he's more concerned about getting stuff done for Mississippi. So Cindy Hyde-Smith is in step with Donald Trump on that because they're members of the Republican Party. They serve some of the same things in terms of, I guess, prison reform and abortion and things like that. So things can get done. Because his thing about creating jobs and opportunities for not only just Black people, I'm talking about Charles Evers, but also for people in general in the state of Mississippi. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. Just like Andrew Young, the great Andrew Young, former mayor of Atlanta, first Black UN ambassador. I think is he first Black UN ambassador? Don't hold me to it, but Dr. King, one of his lieutenants, served closer with MLK, was there the day he got killed or got shot in the face on the neck in Memphis on April 4th, 1968. He did a recent preview of his new documentary called The Color of Money that really focused on the financial situation in Memphis, Tennessee, and the Memphis area, the Mississippi Delta. Because he's a part of this organization called Operation Hope. There's one of his prodigies, John Hope Bryant from L.A., started his organization to help teach people about financial literacy, to help people improve their credit score for free. He got these different, shops or whatever set up in financial institutions throughout Memphis and the country. In Memphis, this is like places like SunTrust Bank and First Tennessee Bank, where they got these things set up where people come in for financial literacy workshops and credit score workshops where they can actually get their credit score improved by upwards to 100 to 200 points within a year or so. Credit score could be increased 100, 200 points, all for free. Stuff that would normally cost thousands of dollars, they're doing this for free. So I had a chance to interview him, and I put that out there, and also I covered the Q&A they did afterwards that will be posting soon. But just to talk to him about that situation, because he believed that, having the right type of credit score will help alleviate some of Black folks' pains and give us options and better opportunities to live a quality life. I asked him about, could this be a form of reparations for Black people? And he basically said that that's not going to happen. that this was not a form, or this was not a solution for reparations, and that reparations won't be happening. That would never happen. And I also asked him about the vote because he's from Georgia, right? You know, he was the mayor of Georgia. He actually ran for governor of Georgia at one point. I asked about the Stacey Abrams situation. I said, can you still push this idea of voting when your votes may not count? And he was saying, well, it's kind of interesting, like kind of like double speak or something. Like he said something to the fact that your vote always count, but it may not count this time. So my thing is this, it goes back to that Koch brothers argument. I don't think Koch brothers are actually voting, going to the voting machines and, you know, doing the hanging chat stuff. I don't think they're doing it. They just doing it with their checkbooks. They're buying their politicians and policies and legislation. And that's really the ultimate way to do it. I mean, Dr. Carl Anderson will agree with that. It's not about going to vote. It's about, you know, getting your resources and stuff in order and, you know, having leverage in that way to demand things from these people that you put in positions of power and influence. And that's what we need to get to that point. And I think we're becoming more mature on that level. You know, I'm listening to the commentators and stuff like that in the new black media movement, because the old black media is dead on arrival, but the grassroots black media is alive and thriving. And we got to get to the point where, you know, we become more organized and work with each other, because right now they're really clamping down on freedom of speech, like they did to Alex Jones. And I know Alex Jones ain't everybody's cup of tea, but this guy was erased from all these different platforms. This guy had, he still has millions of followers. This guy had a lot of influence, and really it's a pushback from 2016 that the powers that be really are trying to stifle the narrative, trying to reclaim the narrative. They're trying to control the past and the future by erasing the present. This stuff is crazy. It's like we live in Nazi Germany with all this censorship and whatnot. And so it's important now than ever that we as black people and people with a conscience learn how to work together, how to coexist, how to control our institutions, set our agendas, things of this nature. This is very important and paramount at this time that we do these things. So this is why, you know, although I be going through the stuff I go through, I'm talking about this stuff because it's very important that it's talked about, because black votes matter, black lives matter, black thought matters. And Malcolm, we were so close when Malcolm was walking the earth. Now we're so far away from where we need to be. And we don't have to do everything out in the open. Sometimes you got to do things behind closed doors, move in silence, and not everybody's going to be aboard for the mission. You understand? Like, you know, December 2nd will mark the anniversary of, I believe, John Brown being hanged in Charlestown, Virginia. It's Charlestown, Charleston, West Virginia. Either Charlestown or Charleston, West Virginia, how they say it. And I went to that place. I know Bobby D. Gregory used to say that around those times, I believe either John Brown's raid, October 16th. October 16th is a very powerful date in history, especially black history. And December 2nd is where they hang him. And John Brown knew that as a white man, that he could not free the black man, that the black man must be willing to free himself. He raided Harper's Ferry to get them the weapons so they could have an actual choice, because he knew that slavery was a choice. So he was trying to give them, like, look, you can remain a slave, you get these weapons and start fighting on behalf of your own freedom. So he was trying to help give the black man some better options. But he knew that in the end, the black man would have to fight his battles for his own liberation. He sacrificed himself and some of his sons for the cause, but at the end of the day, nobody can fight your battles but you. You must be willing to put your life on the line for your own sense of freedom. Like Frederick Douglass said, you know, he's been praying for 20 years to be free, but his prayers were not answered until he started praying with his legs. I mean, he had to run away, had to escape. So I'm just putting stuff out there, but I hope y'all understand the main theme of my so-called rant. As somebody say, neighbor came rant, so whatever. I got a mission, and it's not a rant; it's a reality. And so, what else can I say? What else can I say? So many things to consider and to weigh. But yeah, we got to get away from this voting for voting sakes type of matter. Don't waste your, if you got a gun, don't waste your bullets. If you got a ballot, don't waste your vote. Basically, it comes down to it. You got to be strategic about what we do now. You know, we got enough time. It's like how black folks be pushing voting and stuff. Like I said, well, the group gets pressured to vote. The Asians don't vote. A lot of folks with power, wealth, and influence do not vote. And we're a group of people, like, black folks need celebrities to tell us what to do. Like, go back to what Malcolm said. Now, people want to use what Malcolm's talking about in his Berkeley interview and try and use that towards the ancestor Dick Gregory. But Malcolm, just in general, is talking about, like, what group of people are relying on entertainers as their leaders. How can an entertainer be your leader? Yeah, you have people that have backgrounds in entertainment that became politicians, whatever. Ronald Reagan, for example, I guess, and there's some other examples. But what he was saying was, I don't expect Lil Wayne to tell me how to get organized. And he's not a leader, he's an entertainer. He may be a leader in his field, he may, be a person who has followers, who's popular, but he is not a leader in terms of the political reality that we're dealing with. He is not a representative of the people. In that sense, he's not obligated to be a leader. There's no reason why he would have to feel compelled or obligated to be a leader when he's just an entertainer. He's an artist. The leadership that people think about with Malcolm, that's a leader. Martin Luther King was a leader. These people are leaders. They might have had other talents, but the thing about it is their agenda is to serve the people. You don't have to hold an office to be a leader. A lot of people that hold office are not leaders. They're bureaucrats. Leadership is something else. To me, leadership is about initiative and stepping up and following through, being a person of your word, being consistent, things of that nature. Be willing to die for what you want. Be willing to live for what you want. Be willing to live for what you want. That's leadership quality to me. But these elections and stuff like that, or selections, whatever you say, the bigger scheme of things, like I said before, all politics are local. Who's on your school board, to me, is more important than who's in the White House. Because there are always some checks and balances. Because it's not the real power. Even the person in the White House, even the president got bossed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at Barack Obama, his biggest campaign contributors 10 years ago were not the $5, $10 donations on the internet. It was not necessarily the people, not the grassroots people. It was the bankers. It was Goldman Sachs. Who are the people that run the government? You think about what Woodrow Wilson did when he signed the Federal Reserve into law back in 1913. He was doing the bidding of the banksters. He was not doing the bidding of the people. Wars are not fought to free people or liberate people. Wars are fought to control resources to make money. Once again, wars are fought to control resources and to make money for the elites, the so-called elites. I'm not saying they're elite because they're superior. I'm saying the people that the system cater to is a small group of people. They benefit from the bloodshed. Wars are nothing but big blood sacrifices for the elites. That's how they make their money and all that stuff and how they stay in power. But my thing is, don't be a pawn in this game. It's like we vote. Don't just vote for people because they want to shame you because they say your ancestors voted. They fought and died for the right. They fought and died for the right to exist and to protect themselves and their loved ones. That's what they fought for. You look at the Mormons. Look at the Mormon rebellion. This was a little mini war or skirmish, whatever you'll call it. When the Mormons had a standoff with the United States government under James P. Buchanan, the bachelor president, who was president before Lincoln. They had a standoff back in 1857, 1858 in the Utah territory. And the Mormons fought against the government and they won because the Mormons They were a persecuted people. Their founder, Joseph Smith, was lynched along with his brother. It was like a jail lynching in I think it was Duval, Illinois. So they just decided to move westward. They moved to Utah territory, where it was not under the control of the United States. And the United States started a war with the Mormons. The Mormons did a thing. They had a massacre of white settlers going west to California. They believe some of the people in the party from Arkansas who looked this stuff up were involved in the lynching of Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon faith, and his brother. And so they took their revenge. And they stood out successfully with the government and won. And my thing is, it's good to pray for your enemy, I guess, and try to pray it away and try to be meek and stuff. But it's time for war. It's time and place for anything. If you're gonna fight a war for your right to exist. That's why you should fight a war. Not, to make somebody else rich that won't trickle down to your family. Not to make somebody else's generational wealth increase where you don't see a dime of that or a penny of that. So these things are important. This is why, even though, the things that's happening to me is going on, it's still important to carry on and push. Because like to paraphrase Frederick Douglass, there is no progress without struggle. So I'm saying a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully it's getting through. And we'll talk about this again, but I just want to just give out my little thoughts about now it's time to have an agenda. By 2020, reparations should be a talked about topic, taken seriously. It's like how black folks are voting. They take voting seriously. Asians not voting, but Asians got wealth. They control, they really help communities. They control their businesses. They control their money. They control their institutes. Jewish people, same way. These people are not necessarily voting. They're not pushing that among their people. They're pushing ownership and, combining their resources to control their destiny. And black folks must mature politically and economically if we're going to get to those points. Because this is group sports in this system. It's a team sport. You don't get there by yourself. It was one point in this country about 100 years ago, even that the Irish and the Italians and Jewish people were considered the niggers of the white race. And what they did was they started controlling institutions like the police department, the fire department, the unions, and they was allowed to have a seat at the table. And can anybody name any institutions that black folks really control that were founded for the interests of black first? Can you name? I'm talking about you might have something in your neighborhood. I'm talking about in terms of a national entity or a national as well as international presence. Can we name any organization? You think about, you talk about the NAACP. Are they really for black first right now? Can you talk about the Urban League, the National Urban League? Are they really black first right now? Any group, and it's like group that goes beyond just a religious thing, not putting down any group. I'm saying, think about the Vatican ain't just about religion. The Vatican is about power. It's about currency. It's about controlling the information. It's about gatekeeping. Do we have any type of institution? If you talk about the black church ain't what it used to be. The black church took their FBI money, their faith-based initiative money. It was a point black church was a place where black folks could really have some organization and some political and economic clout, but it's out of our hands now. And yet a lot of us are still a slave to religion. You got to think about, they won't teach you how to read and write. They wouldn't teach you how to read and write or arithmetic, but they'll teach you about religion. So you'll trust the thing that they'll teach you, but the things they don't teach. Not knocking religion. You be where you want to be, like Malcolm said to his message to grassroots. But what I'm saying is, let's start being more strategic and selective and more understanding of the situation we find ourselves in. People talk about the crabs in the barrel. or crabs in a bucket mentality. But the thing about it is, if you got that bucket boiling hot, the crabs are not necessarily pulling each other down to keep each other down by nature. They're trying to escape the heat at the bottom. They're trying to stop from getting burnt. So this is not about necessarily hating on each other. This is about survival. So a lot of us tend to step on each other and put each other down because we think we're trying to survive in a system that does not respect our humanity and recognize who we really are as individuals as well as the people. So I asked Brother Young, Andrew Young, what he thought about what Dr. King said was integrated to a burning house. He gave his thing on it, but my thing is we lost our way because we forgot ourselves. We forgot to put ourselves first. So we was willing to be in a system because like people I understand the Brown v. Board, the way they treated was like a Trojan horse type of thing. You understand? Because at first, Brown v. Board really should have been about, black schools getting the same type of access to resources and funding as their so-called white counterparts to honor the so-called spirit of the Plessy v. Ferguson decision, separate but equal. But black schools never been properly funded like they should have been at any time or point in this country. Schools that put the educational potential of black people first have never been properly funded in this system. Never. So really the argument for Brown v. Board should have been about that versus, she wanted to go, may she rest in peace, the ancestor. She wanted to go to a school that was closer to her house. They were sending her to a school that was a black school, but the school closer to her house was a white school. I'm talking about this sister Linda Brown. The black school she was going to was not a bad school. It was a decent school, but she wanted to go to something that was closer to her home, make it easy on her folks. So that what that really was about. But they make it like, black folks got low self-esteem. But some of the best moments for black excellence happened during Jim Crow, apartheid America. Some of the best high schools in the country, some of the best businesses, thriving business were black owned, were black attended. Shit, Negro League baseball was better attended, made more money than the Major League Baseball. But y'all assumed that the Negro League Baseball was the inferior product. That's not that. It was making more money than the major leagues. And that's why they brought Jackie Robinson over as a Trojan horse. They exploited Jackie Robinson to get the black talent so they could make the green money. That's what that was about. It wasn't about doing the right thing because the morally right thing to do. Even the movie 13, I believe it's called 13, the one that Chadwick Boseman played very well, I think, Jackie Robinson. Branch Rickey, who was played by Harrison Ford, talked about this is about economics. This is about Moneyball. But yet we fall into the emotional sentimentality of everything. People, we just acknowledge and observe the 55th anniversary of the JFK assassination. Like I tell people all the time, if they could kill Botham Jean, if they could kill a president in Dallas and get away with it, who is Botham Jean? Or Botham John, that brother that got killed by the white police officer in his own home. What's that about if they could kill a president and get away with it? Who cares about what happens in the Botham Jean case, or John, whatever his name was, may he rest in peace, the ancestor. But what I'm saying is, y'all can look all this stuff up, I'm telling you, because Jackie Robinson played for a white man, J.L. Wilkerson. He was the only white person that owned a Negro Leagues team outright. The Negro Leagues, most of the ownership was black. You had a situation up in New Jersey was a white woman passing as a black woman. I think her name was Effa Manley or something like that. She was a white woman, allegedly, who was passing as black. I believe her husband and her own, either called them the Newark Eagles or Giants. I can look that up, take a look. It's all online. I'm trying to respect the neighbors here. I'm talking too loud, but I got passion. I'm just loud, mother. I'm just loud. But I do it. But I got to get this information out of my mind. So I'm not worried about all that. But yeah, I can donate. If I got to pay a fine, whatever, I can donate. PayPal link is down in the description box. Become a Patreon. I'm going to send out stuff soon. Just try to get the economics together. Hope I can hit y'all with by Kwanzaa time. The stuff that I owe people. Patreon. Yeah. So Jackie Robinson realized late in life, before he died, that he was used and abused by the powers that be. And that's why he probably never stood up for the national anthem. This is before Kaepernick. This is before millions of dollars that the athletes were making. Jackie Robinson never saluted the flag or stood up for the national anthem while he was playing, because he never felt like he was a real American. They never treated him like the man and hero and the citizen that he was. So I think I gave y'all a lot, but I hope y'all can understand. Like, well, we're going to revisit this topic, but I just wanted to put that out there. In this period, black leadership is non-existent. I know y'all got, I can hear in the comments now, y'all talking about the minister. Minister almost 90 years old, no disrespect to the elder. Minister has put in a lot of work in his own right, whatever you may think about him or whatever. He has a great legacy, in terms of like what he's tried to do. And people criticize what he tried to do or didn't do. That's for anybody, but he did something. What I'm saying is, where is the leadership? Vigorous leadership, people out there, that could fight. Think about it. People that really cared about us, as far as politicians go, they don't go that far in this system. There's a sister down in Georgia who would have made a great governor, president, senator, whatever. I'm not talking about Stacey Abrams. I'm talking about Cynthia McKinney. You see how they got rid of her? She lost her political seat. She regained it. Then they gerrymandered her district, and they had a black woman run against her and got rid of her. So she's not an elected official. But she cared about black people. She cared about what was right and wrong. She had a profound moral compass. She still does. What I'm saying is, how many of our people know about Cynthia McKinney? 10 years ago, she ran as the presidential candidate for the Green Party. But yet, if you talk to people on the street, our people in the community, did we know about Cynthia McKinney? She was one of the first elected officials to question what really happened on 9/11. She called for an independent investigation to that, and it cost her seat. She talked about the atrocities that were committed during the Hurricane Katrina FEMA aftermath. This is before social media. She talked about what they were doing to black folks in the aftermath. People thought she was making stuff up, and now proving that she was correct. But yet we don't honor the people that really fight for us. We don't care about their welfare, about their state of mind. We don't really do what we can for them. I'm not saying that they should, we should overly protect our people, but I'm saying we should support those people that advocate for us, because they put so much on the line to do so. It's like, I remember I read D.O.A. Gillespie's autobiography. It's a great autobiography. He said, to paraphrase him, they did Malcolm and Martin a favor by getting them out early, but they tortured Paul Robeson. He died an old man. He was tortured. They tried to break him, take away his passport, take away his right to make a living, using people like Jackie Robinson to speak bad about him in the halls of Congress and stuff like that. But he lived to be almost 80 years old. They tortured him. They tried to poison and kill him in Russia. Stuff like that. So I'm saying all this to say, this is stuff that y'all can easily look up. So I'm making it easy, this food for thought, because this is not being talked about a lot of times in these discussions. People talking about this emotional, not really worried about, the Sidney Hyde-Smith thing. But the people in Mississippi got to hold her accountable. Got to energize those grassroots, right? And like October 16th, 1901, that 1901, where Theodore Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington to dine with him in the White House, and the reaction from the country. They made a poem called Niggas in the White House. Think about niggas in Paris, Kanye West and Jay-Z, but they had a poem called Nigga in the White House. The reactionary mindset of the people in 1901. What makes 2018 different from 1901? People talk about, well, they didn't vote for Epstein, or they didn't want to vote for Hyde-Smith. because of all the mudslinging. Politics has always been about mudslinging. It's always been about that. Go back to the presidential campaigns in the 19th century for Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. It's always been about that. That's the nature of the beast. Dr. King said, America is the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet, my own government. America always been about that. American history nothing but a long gangster rap song. So, with that said, I want to wish Mike SB the best going forward, but we got to really change the way we do politics as black people. It's not about no voting for people because they look like you and part of the same fraternity or sorority. This is about vote for people that represent your interests, and you vote for people that the community sent into those places. They got to get the consent of the community to lead. Like, some of our woke people and conscious folks in our community say, well, the youngins got to get the permission from the elders to speak. Well, the politicians got to get permission from the community, from the grassroots to lead. They need to get out. Okay, anybody that don't come through the neighborhood ain't no good. If they were sent to Congress, courtesy of Goldman Sachs and Koch brothers and anybody but the community, you should not trust them. You should give them a second look over. And if they are sent, you should let them realize that, yeah, it's good that you got them cashable checks, checks that bounce, big, nice checks. But we're going to make you answer to us as well, because we're not going to be taken for granted anymore. Because, like in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, we should be sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, that said, just some of my 2 cents. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. Please feel free to share this with your friends, fans, frenemies, enemies, whoever. Support the platform. You can support us, donate, make a tax-deductible donation to the We All Be movement. PayPal, email address, r2c2h2@gmail.com. Once again, that's r2c2h2@gmail.com. Or you can send a donation, a money order, to our P.O. Box. Attention, Brother Ron Hurd II. Addressed to the We All Be Group Incorporated, the We All Be Group Inc. P.O. Box is 752-062, Memphis, Tennessee 38175. Once again, our P.O. Box is 752-062, Memphis, Tennessee 38175. And also you could buy and wear and frame R2C2H2 art. Go to r2c2h2.com. Once again, that's r2c2h2.com. For order artwork, we got a deal 5 for $50. You can buy 5 prints for $50. Also, you can go to our Teespring. Y'all see the shelf below this video in the description. Buy some of my t-shirts. I got some more t-shirt designs coming up that's original art by yours truly. So I'm just giving you all these different ways to support Brother Ron and the We All Be Info movement. Because we need our own. We got to have our own. We got to support the people that speak from our point of view. We got to reclaim that narrative. But I'm going to revisit this stuff. I'm going to have some guests talking about some of these things. I'm going to try to get Judge Joe back on the show, Dr. Randy Short, some other people. I want to introduce you to the community, to the beloved community that loves us, that put us first. So thank you so much once again, everybody. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and push.